Hey, Shalom Makim. First and foremost, give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachak Kudash. Double honors under the elders of Apostle Great Millstone, the elders of Great Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect, the sincere servants of Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, serve him in truth and sincerity. Yes, on the brother Chayaba from Z-Man's Plain Tables Camp, coming back with another lesson to the Spirit. Yes, so this lesson be based off of this article from nationalnews.com, which is entitled, it says, Global tensions soar as India, Pakistan strikes risk nuclear crisis, and U.S. Houthi truce splits allies. See how you, making sure I pronounce this right.
Houthi.
Yeah, Houthi. It says truce splits allies. Yeah, and also I believe this is a pretty cool tool you have now. It says a summary, pretty much, new update. You're able to summarize articles. So to read it, this summary says India launched missile and airstrikes against Pakistan, escalating tensions between nuclear-armed rivals. This is meanwhile, former U.S. President Donald Trump brokered a surprise truce with Yemen's Houthi rebels, exposing a deepening rift between Washington and Tel Aviv. It says these dual crises threaten nuclear escalation, energy market chaos, and fractured alliances. Hey, so we are at that point, man. Obviously, the cruel Lord, he's in office. You see the guy right here himself. Looks like some type of painting or, some type of art. But hey, this is the cruel Lord and the fierce king. This is Nero, we believe to be Nero and reincarnation. Trump, the cruel Lord and fierce king. The cruel Lord and fierce king you can read about in Isaiah chapter 19:4. So hey, the scriptures, many times the scriptures prophesy how there will be a world, or what pretty much there's going to be a world war. Babylon will receive destruction, and these other nations will rise up against Babylon to destroy it. As well, there will be a war in the Middle East. The scriptures prophesy that as well. So read this article, go a little bit deeper. It says India-Pakistan conflict escalates. India conducted missile and airstrikes on Pakistan. It says claiming to target T camps. You see the word right there. It says while Pakistan warned of retaliation, raising nuclear war fears between the two rivals. Yeah, so it says risk of catastrophic fallout. Analysts warn further escalation could destabilize global energy markets and draw in major powers like China, Russia, and the U.S. with potential for tactical nuclear use. It says Trump brokers U.S. Houthi truce, a surprise ceasefire between the U.S. and Yemen's Houthis excludes Israel. It says deepening U.S.-Israel tensions as Netanyahu continues strikes on, it says, Yemeni infrastructure. Yeah, and it says Houthis continue targeting Israel. There, it says rebels vowed to persist with attacks, framing them as pressure to lift Gaza's blockade, while Israel rejects calls for a truce, risking wider conflict. It says global instability looms. Dual crises threaten nuclear escalation, energy market chaos, and fractured alliances, with experts warning of potential multi-front disasters if tensions worsen. Hey, so again, a lot of things happening, man. Obviously, ever since October 2023, you had the war between Gaza, Israel, Hamas, Israel, whatever, however you want to, pretty much Israel versus Hamas, that started. And again, you think eventually, or you think it's just gonna end right there. Eventually, that war is gonna stop, and then it's gonna just be time and peace. No, things will keep on getting worse and worse. Why? Because it's prophesied within the Bible, the Holy Bible, that there will be war And we're just witnessing the beginning of sorrows. It's going to get a lot worse from here. This is what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is putting on earth, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus. The Heavenly Father Yahweh and His Son Yahushua are putting this on the earth. People think that the Lord isn't behind these things. People think that man is doing his own will. No, the Lord is the one who is orchestrating these things to happen. The Lord is orchestrating these things to come to pass. It says, Joel chapter 3 and 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Yeah, exactly. It says, proclaim ye this among Gentiles. Prepare war. And war is being prepared, man. Let's get that word for prepare within the Hebrew. Hebrew words that says kodash, which means sanctify, hallow, dedicate, to consecrate. Yeah, pretty much to dedicate. It says, prepare, proclaim, appoint, consecrate, dedicate. Yes, so to dedicate, to proclaim, to appoint war, to prepare war. And that's what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is putting his spirit on these other nations to do, to prepare war. So it says, verse 10, or continuing on, verse 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. The different militaries around the world, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua was starting up these militaries. Again, putting the spirit upon, these rulers of these other nations, the presidents or the governments and whatever. And obviously, we know there's people pulling strings behind the scenes, but the Lord's controlling them too. The Lord's controlling everything, including the highest of the higher ups within the society, the highest of, the most elite of the elites. The Lord's controlling them as well to make these things come to pass. So it says, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So the Lord's stirring up these conflicts. You're having, again, India and Pakistan strikes. It says, verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords. So Joel chapter 3 and 10, beat your plowshares and the swords, and your pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Exactly. Because the Lord, these other nations were known pretty much for its, the third world. I mean, obviously, they weren't as advanced as, of course, the U.S. or what these, I guess, the first world countries, as they put it. Well, of course, now what? Again, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is putting his spirit upon these other nations, to build up their arsenal. These other nations are making alliances with each other, trading and pretty much building with one another. You have BRICS, obviously. Again, these nations making, again, alliances with one another against Babylon the Great, which is America. It says, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause our mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Exactly. And where will the heathen be assembled? It says, verse 12, let the heathen be awakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Exactly. So Lord will judge all the heathen round about. And what's the valley of Jehoshaphat? The valley of Jehoshaphat represents the Middle East, because there will be a world war, or a large portion of the war will be taking place within the Middle East. That's where these other nations will fight the war at. Of course, they're going to be shooting missiles, will be shot everywhere, especially the majority of missiles will be hitting Babylon the Great. The scriptures prophesy, the multitude of missiles that will hit Babylon the Great, that 100% destroy it, as well as Yahushua when he comes back to deliver his elect, also to aid in what he's going to be aiding in the destruction of Babylon by sending his chariots. We already know the energy output, the high concentrated energy, pretty much with the energy beam, the laser that these chariots, so-called UFOs, which, again, those are the chariots of the Lord. The angels pilot those. The Lord's angels pilot those chariots. What they have the ability to emit a high concentrated energy beam upon whatever Lord wants that, the energy beam to hit is going to completely vaporize it. So what? They're going to be aiding in the destruction of Babylon and Great as well. But what? Again, there's going to be a large portion of the war will be taking, of World War III will be taking place in the Middle East, where that's where the Lord's going to put a lot of judgment, man. Let's go ahead and get Revelation 11 and 12. Or not 12, 14. So 11, Revelation chapter 11 and 14. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Second woe represents World War II. The third woe represents World War III. And it says cometh quickly because it's coming quickly. World War II already happened, but World War III is right around the corner, especially with all these conflicts happening. We understand that it's months away. Of course, months, as what Elder Apostle Har, brought out. Well, months doesn't just mean 3 months, 6, 8. What? Months can mean 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever. Point is that we're months away, but it's very, very close. It could be this year. It could be the beginning of next year. Our hope is that it happens as soon as possible, because the sooner that these things happen, the sooner that Yahushua delivers us from this hellhole that we're in, from this captivity that we're in. And gives us the kingdom. I'm saying us, referring unto the hopeful elect, because that's our hope, that we're part of the elect, and we take part of that salvation. That great salvation that Yahushua is going to give for his elect, to deliver them from this destruction. So what? That's what we're waiting for. So we're waiting for the destruction of this place and the beginning of our new kingdom, which is going to be the kingdom of Israel. Of course, which is what? Yahushua's kingdom. Of course, we're going to have the hierarchy, King David, the 12, the 144,000. Of course, the rest the rest of the elect, the 1/3, or Slakia. Yeah, so you have the hierarchy. So you have a king. So you have Yahushua, you have King David, you have the 12. Then you have the 144,000. And then you have, of course, the rest of the elect. Because obviously it's not to put a separation between the 1/3 and the 144,000. Because again, you're going to have the 144. When scriptures go into the 1/3, it's referring to the 1/3 of Israel within America. So you're going to have the 144,000. Some of the, large, or just whatever number of the 144,000 found within America. So yeah, that's the point. So yeah, I believe it's a point. World War III is right around the corner, man, especially with these conflicts rising, India, Pakistan, and so on and so forth. Israel, and that's been happening. Israel and Hamas, Gaza, that's been happening as well. Russia and Ukraine, that's been happening. So again, it's right around the corner. So I believe it's a point. Lord's will, you brothers are edified. Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, Bisham Gakurash, Brakathum, Shalom.